person, but at present is a citizen of Indonesia. And has lied his way through college, has lied his way through the bar, and been a member of the Illinois bar, has lied his way receiving funds which he was not allowed to receive to run for president or U.S. senator, has lied his way and not every last one of those men and women who swore in yesterday know that there's probable that there are mountains of evidence that demonstrate that this man is a criminal, that he's an illegal alien, and yet they lied through their teeth yesterday saying that they will raise their hands and say they will uphold the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Supreme Court is for you to mail yours. And after you mail yours, contact evangelize, Christmatize as many people as you possibly can. That this is a serious issue for America. America stands on the threshold right now of having a man become its commander-in-chief who is not eligible to do so, and the information's gonna come out. It's gonna come out, and when it does, we will be the embarrassment of the world that we allowed this man to take the office. More specifically, you go to work. You do what you can, don't worry about the number being large. Just do what you can. Just do what you can, my brother and my sister. You talk. And only if you can get one other person to write a letter, but tell that person you stay right there to contact this man. People over to your home. Take people out to lunch. Tell them you must write to the U.S. Supreme Court before January 17th. You know that. We must inform Chief Justice Roberts that if he's planning to ask Barack Hussein Obama to pledge on January 20th to defend the U.S. Constitution, America knows that Justice Roberts has been duly served and informed that there's a high probability, if not an absolute truth, that this man is not a U.S. citizen and that he's swearing in as criminal. America needs to see that on Inauguration Day. America needs to know if Justice Roberts will stand before Barack Hussein Obama. And by the way, have you heard that Barack Hussein Obama says he wants to give a shout out to the Islamic world? So he wants Justice Roberts to shout his complete name, Barack Hussein Obama. So that all the Islamic world will know that he is their partner in global understanding to share that Justice Roberts has been appealed to from every segment of our society. Please, Justice Roberts, please. This man is an illegal alien. Let us see his credentials. We not only need to see his passport, his birth certificate, but his passport. We need to see his college transcripts, his applications and admission applications, information to every college in the Justice Roberts, Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, please defend our U.S. Constitution. January 17th. We have time, 10 more days. Get out there. Go to work. So Pastor Matt, I've already lived it. And I've already told everybody. Find someone else to talk to. Ask God. Hold a prayer meeting. Go to your closet. Stand by your closet door or get in your closet and ask God, kneel down on your knees, get down on your knees and close your closet door and say, Lord, is there anybody else that I've not talked to? Is there anyone that I've omitted? Is there anyone that I've not talked to? You can even ask children to write, doesn't matter what their age is. You can ask children, though they're not of voting age, they're still citizens of the U.S., and they deserve to have justice, and they deserve to have a president who is the president of all people. Ask children to write. Ask the Lord, Lord, is there anybody I've forgotten? Lord, have I worked the way I have been asked to work 2 hours a day? Talking with people, evangelizing people. You tell everybody you know to do the exact same thing that you have done. This Obama, who wants to give a shout out now to the Islamic world, he wants to give a shout out to Hamas, he wants to give a shout out to Hezbollah. He wants to give a shout out to the Taliban. He wants to give a shout out to He wants to give a shout out to Hugo Chavez. He wants to give a shout out to Fidel Castro. He wants to give a shout out, and he wants to Justice Department, and he wants the world media. He wants the world media to see him. Align himself with all of America's enemies. He wants to shout out, and he wants Justice Roberts to do it. can get it now. Oh, we can get it done. All it takes is one person to start a world revolution. One person. Don't you underestimate the power of love. Power. We're not gonna get 20 million Americans. No. I want to spoon justices. We won't just. All that is defend the U.S. Constitution, sign your name, put it in an envelope, put on the outside of the envelope, Chief Justice Roberts, U.S. Supreme Court. Defend the U.S. Constitution. First Street Northeast, Washington, D.C. Almighty God, we praise you, we love you, we magnify you. Your name is above every name. There's power in your name. There's power. There's power in your word. I thank you, Almighty God. Lord Jesus, I give your name the praise and glory that you've opened and yet you've opened the eyes of so many other million Americans. I just thank you, Almighty God, that I didn't become a whore like so many people now. I thank you, oh God, if I don't ever didn't take my eyes off you. For you said that you'd be living under your fingers. And I didn't become Obama's whore. Thank you! Thank you for coming out here this evening to arm yourselves with comprehensive understanding of mind control. Because knowledge is our only defense against mind control. Knowledge is our only defense against it, which is exactly why it's being suppressed under the 1947 National Security Act. There's a small handful of criminals that are in control of our government and in control of our country, that are in control of our information, and they're suppressing pertinent facts That's national security that's threatening the security of our nation when it allows for crimes against humanity like tortures to continue, when it allows for mass mind control mechanisms to go into place through social engineering that keeps us all warring with each other and not really understanding exactly what it is that's going on in our world. We all formulate our thoughts, our opinions, and ultimately our actions based on what we know. And when our knowledge base is altered, we're left to superstition, conjecture, and ultimately fear. And fear is a strong basis for mind control, whether it's a kind of mind control that is the mass mind control over a whole society, or if it's the kind of absolute robotic mind control that I experienced under MK Ultra on a White House Pentagon bubble. I feel very fortunate to have recovered from my mind control victimization, and to have a clear view of what's actually going on behind the scenes of what Adolf Hitler and George Bush termed a New World Order. It makes perfect sense to me what I'm seeing in society today, and the truth that set me free from the absolute mind control that I experienced can also set you free from any kind of fear that you're experiencing through what is happening in our society and our world today. It can also free you from any kind of trauma that you've experienced in the past. It can also free you from information control that has left you wondering what in the world is going on today. I'd like to provide a comprehensive view of exactly what mind control entails based on my victimization in mind control and also my recovery from it, because the mind expanding abilities that I gained in my recovery process are abilities that each and every one of you would be able to use to gain a better understanding, to know what's going on in the world and empower you to make a positive difference in your own lives and in your own walk of life, in your own society, your own family, and affect those that you love as well. In 1957, I was born into a multi-generational incest-based family. My father had been sexually abused. His mother was a prostitute. My mother had been sexually abused, and her father was military intelligence and ran a Blue Masonic Lodge. I'm certainly not going to be suggesting that all Macy's are bad, just because there are many who have an ulterior agenda that is formulated on abuse, and anyone that I name is not to suggest that any particular group is responsible for what's going on in the world today. It's just not that simple. There's good and bad in everything, and it weaves in and out of society. And in my situation, I thought that the whole world was involved in abuse. And as a very young child, I had hoped that there was some place in the world where people didn't abuse their children. I thought that perhaps that could actually happen because that's what I felt in my heart, and yet with my whole environment saturated and my view was narrow to my own environment, I lost hope that there was a place where people didn't abuse each other. The sexual abuse that I endured as a child began at a very early age. And it was before I could actually think to understand that my father's sexual abuse was bad. I couldn't judge morally what he was doing was wrong in any way whatsoever. But I did endure the pain and suffocation of his abuse just the same. And my body automatically responded to that pain and to that suffocation by developing a disorder which is known as dissociative identity disorder. This disorder was formally termed multiple personality disorder, and the International Society Society for the Study of Dissociation has finally come out with better information on how to recover from trauma and have redefined the disorder as dissociative identity disorder, because multiple personality disorders are misnomer. I didn't develop multiple personalities. I had one personality that was just totally shattered from the abuse. When trauma occurs that is too horrible to comprehend, the mind compartmentalizes that abuse. So, by compartmentalizing off that abuse, the rest of the mind can function normally, as though nothing had happened. This is now professionally defined, this disorder is, as the mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend. It's not something that as a very, very young child I thought to develop and used as a psychological protective mechanism. Instead, it's what my brain automatically did in order to deal with the extensive abuse that I was experiencing. My father may not have been aware of the effects on my brain that his abuse was causing. Not until much later, when his sexual abuse expanded into child pornography. He was supplementing the family income with proceeds from child pornography he was making of me, and this child pornography was being sold through the local Michigan Mafia child pornography ring. Well, back then, this was just right around the age of 6, so this was like now into the early 60s. And the local politician was actually sanctioning this child pornography ring in order to target children like myself for MK Ultra mind control. Because it was well known that any child that was so abused to be used in child pornography would be suffering from this dissociative disorder. This disorder is a prime basis for mind control, as had been learned through the Himmler studies on multi-generationally abused children. In the early 60s, Project Paperclip was full swing. The Nazi and fascist scientists had been imported into the United States, were put into key positions, and information was gleaned from them on what Adolf Hitler was using as mind control in Nazi Germany. This project paperclip that brought the information in was being taken in by the CIA and a criminal faction of the government that was very much interested in how to control the mind of individuals as well as control the minds of population more so than had occurred in Nazi Germany, because those people had actually broke free of the Hitler plan with the war, but yet the war was so traumatizing that it still left them unable to think for themselves, to the point where they became socially engineered. So there's a great deal of information that was being brought into this country regarding the effects of trauma on the human mind. A local politician that was sanctioning this child pornography ring was associated with my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge. Blue Masonic Lodge oftentimes has key individuals within a community who are involved in politics, or in this particular case it was quite a criminal faction of politics and businessmen, police officers, and just other local politicians as well. When this one particular politician came to my father and told him he could receive immunity from prosecution if he would sell me into MK Ultra mind control, my father was thrilled. He agreed to sell me into the project and was trained in how to raise me for MK Ultra. My father was immediately flown to Boston, Massachusetts, where he was given the information on the language of the subconscious, or how to speak to the subconscious mind, and that's NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Because by that time, the abuse was extensive to the point where when it extreme trauma occurs in certain situations, such as like when a person is in an automobile accident. You may have heard stories where they had a near-death experience, and it was as though their spirit were above everything and looking down on the event from a high up position. It's as though the spirit takes flight from the body in order to escape the pain, and there's like an overview of it. And within that overview, very oftentimes after people survive, they can recall very key events that have occurred around their accident, such as other license plate numbers, or maybe even something more on a spiritual level where they feel love energy of someone who is praying. There are many different aspects that people come back and report from this higher up view of when an extreme near-death trauma has occurred to the point where their spirit had left and then reattaches. And when it comes back, there is that photographic memory surrounding the trauma as well. These are natural phenomena that are associated with the human body that was well known by those who were studying MK-Ultra mind control. They knew that even though I was compartmentalizing memory of my abuse so that the rest of my mind could function normally as though nothing had happened. For example, when my father would sexually abuse me, I wouldn't think of it when I was in other situations. I couldn't think to bring it to mind. And they thought, what better place to store government secrets than in the brain of someone who can't think to bring that information to mind. And yet, at the same time, because of the extreme trauma that was going on, my brain was also photographically recording events surrounding that trauma. So within that compartment of my brain was also a photographic memory. And the government was very much interested in that aspect of the phenomenon of the effects of trauma on the human mind. They were also interested in when a person develops 44 times visual acuity. And I developed that as well. It's as though a person gets eyes in the back of their head. My eyes were wide open. I could see whites all the way around my eyes, just so traumatized, and as though I was looking to see the trauma before it came again. Before it happened again. And it's kind of like developing eyes in the back of the head. the senses become extremely super heightened, like the way perhaps a blind person would develop better hearing. And since I was not able to consciously comprehend what was happening to me, my senses were increasing dramatically. My hearing was very acute as well, and I could hear things that were going on in the next room because the hearing is heightened to that extent. It's a defense mechanism that automatically goes on in the brain when trauma is occurring. Additionally, this kind of sensing goes into an area that gives like a psychic perception. And I hesitate to use the word psychic because it's been misused in many ways. But nevertheless, the hearing is so acute, and the visual is so acute, and the senses are so heightened that there becomes a stronger knowing, and the government did numerous studies into the psychic abilities of people who were also abused. These all were adding up into reasons why there was a faction of our government that was looking into what the Hitler-Himmler studies had revealed. Additionally, when a person compartmentalizes memory, after so many compartments develop, there's no continuity of thought. There's no memory of what happened before. So when a person's out and around and they don't think to bring to mind the abuse, they don't know what time has passed. So after a while there's no comprehension of time, there's no ability to consciously comprehend what's going on, and there's no continuity of thought. Without this kind of a conscious awareness, it leaves the subconscious mind open to be led. A person becomes highly suggestible. Any person who's experienced sexual abuse, especially prior to the age of 5, or physical abuse, or even psychological abuse prior to the age of 5, would develop this kind of a heightened suggestibility. It's well known that when trauma occurs, people become highly suggestible. When traumas occur in our society, such as what happened in 9/11, Many people in this country, PTSD, they develop post-traumatic stress disorder. This PTSD left people unable to think clearly for themselves. They were very fearful. They were very emotionally distraught over what had happened. And when they're not able to think clearly for themselves, they're more easily led. So when they're told what to do by the television while those horrible images are played over and over and over again, they become compliant. They become apathetical. So easily led that America began to lose some of its strength to the point where the criminals that have been in control now for numerous generations took a significant step forward in their control. But just like they misjudged with me, they never considered the strength of the human spirit. They never considered what would happen when people cared about each other, when love entered the equation. And that has caused people to stand a lot more people are awake and aware, and it's making a profound difference. It's certainly the cause, ultimately, of my recovery, but they weren't aware of any of those aspects back then. All they knew was exact scientific formula for exactly how to control someone and what happens to the brain when a person is severely traumatized. They knew that if a person didn't have any continuity of thought or any awareness of time, that they would have extreme physical endurance. Because when a person does something real exhausting, real extensive for a while, completely forgets about it, the brain doesn't signal the body to be tired, and it's as fresh as it was before it had gone through all the strenuous activity leading up to it. This became a very strong interest for the government in creating what we now know as special forces, or the military special forces that have seemingly superhuman strength, superhuman endurance, superhuman vision, and an ability to carry on and carry out orders that are extraordinary. This was also an opportunity for the government to store secrets within a mind of someone like that, while at the same time having a photographic exactly how to carry out the various orders. When they began meddling in the subconscious mind, our subconscious mind is the part that controls our breathing, it controls our blood flow, it controls numerous body functions. And because of that, a person could actually take a bullet and not bleed, not recognize or acknowledge the pain, have it compartmentalized and go on as though nothing had happened, and by not acknowledging it, the pain doesn't slow them down, the endurance continues, the bleeding is stopped, and they're able to continue to do whatever it is they're programmed to carry out. This is pertinent information about what our brains are capable of doing. Just because the criminals that are in control of our country right now and in control of our information, who have suppressed these pertinent facts from the American Psychiatric and Psychological Associations and from the mental health community as a whole. But most of all, they've suppressed this information from you and I because we have a right to this information. We have a right to know that our brain is capable of these kind of functions, because if someone can reach in and control the subconscious mind using the language of the subconscious and trauma, what can we do with the realization we have that capacity within our own brains and have it spirit-driven and driven by our own choices, driven by love, driven by compassion? It makes a powerful difference in our own ability to heal ourselves when we can regulate our own blood flow, when we can regulate our own breathing, and if we can affect those kinds of aspects of our body, we can also regulate other aspects of healing that are essential to our own living, especially these days, because more and more we're seeing where our medical system is significantly eroded for financial reasons, by insurance, by doctors who are controlled by drug companies, and also because we're so financially devastated, it's very difficult to be able to just simply afford medical treatment. So to know that we have these capacities in our brain is essential today, now mind control, about learning how our brains can actually function. But back in the early 60s when I was growing up, and the government was looking into these mind control abilities, and my father was flown to Boston because the Catholics had also long since learned the effects of trauma on the human mind through the Spanish Inquisition, through the Crusades. They knew how the mind responds to significant trauma. Combining the Hitler research with what the Catholics had learned, and taking it into a new level through the CIA, and through the technological advancements that were beginning to come forth in society. We had television then, which was having a strong impact on people and gave them the ability to implement mass mind control far stronger than Adolf Hitler ever could do. And also through the music, because music was coming on so strong then, and it was learned how harmonics affect the brain function as well. It's like when you hear a specific song, and you can remember something that had happened the first time you ever heard that song. I've heard people say that quite often. I remember what happened. Remember when we were in the car and the song came on, and remember how we fell in love to that song? People remember certain events with music because the harmonic vibration that affects the neuron pathways of the brain and allows for the song lyrics to go in deeper. So harmonics were coming on real strong as well. My father's role, since he only had a 6th grade education, and he earned his living as a worm digger up to that point, and was supplementing the family income with child pornography. He wasn't extremely bright, and yet he had enough intelligence to be able to understand what they were telling him about the way the subconscious mind responds and reacts. Plus, all he had to do was carry out specific orders to make sure that I was in certain places at certain times according to the government specifications. The local politician that had approached my father on selling me into MK Ultra mind control was Gerald Ford. This is the same Gerald Ford who went on to become the unelected President of the United States. Gerald Ford's political career escalated significantly, and since I was in MK Ultra mind control predominantly under Ford back in those days, then my victimization rose proportionately until I was used on a White House Pentagon level during the Reagan-Bush administration. But nevertheless, Gerald Ford was very much instrumental in bringing mind control not only on an individual basis, but also on a mass mind control level as well, particularly by the time he was in office of president. Consider that Gerald Ford's presidential cabinet included George Bush as head of the CIA, Donald Rumsfeld as Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney as Secretary of State, Jack Valenti as his press secretary. Of course, many of you know Jack Valenti is head of the Motion Picture Association of America. And so Jack Valenti's influence was also very strong back in the Ford administration. I name these names so that you can understand who these people are, because they're the same ones over and over and over again. And people have forgotten to connect the dots to realize who these people are. When we get new people in office, consider, where did they come from? Who are they? What did they do? Like our new Attorney General. Our new Attorney General was an attorney for Enron. Our new head of the CIA has said that no one is allowed, he has mandated already that no one is allowed to say anything against this administration. The new Attorney General the first thing he did was denounce the Geneva Convention. times we should allow for torture. It's not like they haven't all along, it's just they used to do it more secretly before it came out recently. It's important that we consider that we've got the same people in place, and it's just a small handful of criminals, and it's absolutely inexcusable that we continue to leave them in power. After my father came back from Boston, Massachusetts, I was subjected to extensive, systematic abuses. The sexual abuse that I had endured was extending into ritual abuse and more tortures. The ritual abuse that I experienced within our local Catholic church was very deliberate for the purposes of mind control. It's not to say that all Catholics are bad. There's some very, very good, concerned Catholics who are as outraged as you and I are that that kind of abuse is going on in the church. They're as outraged as we became when we began to learn about this Boston connection. When we started hearing about the child abuse that was emanating out of Boston, it wasn't just child abuse, although that's absolutely horrific enough. It was a very systematic form of mind control, very much a part of MK Ultra. I've been talking about that Boston connection for over a decade. And I'm so glad to see that it's finally coming to light. And yet the most key part of what's actually going on has been left out of the equation once again. Mind control, understanding mind control, gives us a comprehension of what we're actually seeing, and gives us an understanding of numerous aspects of not only what we're seeing in society, but on a global scale as well. Because it's the common thread that ties everything together. It's that last piece of the puzzle that pulls the whole picture into focus, where we can actually fully understand what it is we're seeing. Because once we understand it, we no longer have to fear it. We're no longer left to superstition. We're no longer left to fearing what's coming next, what's coming next. Instead, we know. We know exactly what's going on, and we can think beyond what we're being told. We can think beyond what the media allows us to know. we can expand our thinking and learn to stand strong with the strength of spirit and soul conviction to make a positive difference in our own lives and in our own little areas of society. And ultimately that will expand further and further and further. But it begins with awareness. The abuse that I was enduring under MK Ultra mind control was so extensive that I lost all my awareness. I lost my ability to reason. I lost my ability to question anything. More and more I could only do exactly what I was told to do with no ability to hope anymore. Not only was my whole environment saturated with this abuse, but I couldn't even think anymore to hope that there was some place where people were kind. I began losing my ability to think from about the age of 6 on, and it was quite an extensive progression over the next several years. This included going to the governor's mansion in Mackinac Island, Michigan. At that time, George Romney was the governor of Michigan, and he was very much interested in taking a powerful form of mind control gleaned from the Catholics, taken from the CIA and the Hitler research, and also into the technological advancements, and put it into his Mormon church. Well, George Romney was very active and very high up in the Mormon church, and they could foresee that as a strong opportunity for being able to lead people in a religious way. People are easily led by a religion because they do want to do what God tells them to do, but the religion that they're being taught is outside themselves, when in fact the spirituality and relationship with God is within. And yet religion can pull people down a path outside themselves where they're more easily led and controlled, particularly when systematic abuses are going on and MK Ultra mind control and technological advances are being abused as strong as they were in the Mormon Church. That's not to say all Mormons are bad. There's quite a few Mormons who are standing up once they're able to think for themselves, to make a positive difference and stop the abuse in their churches as well. But that's a little bit slower. The devastation wreaked on people within the Mormon Church is extensive, and it's very much like the abuses that go on in the Jehovah's Witnesses churches just come into light, where the mind control is so prevalent there as well. And every time where the mind control is prevalent, there's always abuse, and it's usually sexual abuse of the children. We need to become aware of how people are being led this way. When we have a politics that have no separation of church and state, it allows for them to dictate or to provide the information through the churches on a political agenda as well. And it's a very dangerous and very powerful combination. Yet nevertheless, is all moving towards the same goal of a mind control of the masses. In Mackinac Island, Michigan, I also heard George Romney talk about what is now known as global education, where bringing a form of mind control into the education system and altering the history, and also pumping information into the children's head at a rate where they lose their ability to discern and to creatively utilize the information, but nevertheless it's just being pumped into their head, especially with the onset of computerization and harmonics coming through the headphones while they're sitting at some of those computers. The computers were also deliberately designed to alter the history that they were being taught, because it was believed that to control the future, all they needed to do was control the history. Again, alter that knowledge base, so that when they do formulate any